If you enjoy what we do here, you should definitely check out youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming. It's our new YouTube channel where we do basically talking like this while also playing video games, old games, older games. We'd like to do new games, but those cost money. So old games, older games, retro games, forgotten games, all kinds of games. While I talk about it, get frustrated, all that kind of cool stuff. We talk about, movies, TV shows, anything like that. YouTube.com/@MWP News Gaming. Please be sure you subscribe. That'll help us out a lot. And if you feel like we're doing a good job, please donate. co-fi.com/MWP News. Thank you and enjoy this episode. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. And we're here today to talk about Ironheart. Which is the latest and probably one of the last. I think there are like 3 shows left. Well, 2 shows left after this. Live action, MCU shows on Disney Plus as part of this second phase of It's All Connected. And I apologize if there's interference. That's because it is very hot. So I have the air conditioner running very loudly while I drive on my way to work. So this has been a interesting test. This idea of connecting streaming series with theatrical releases and having it be one connected universe. It's basically the second attempt at It's All Connected, which they tried back in the mid-2010s, early to mid-2010s, with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Daredevil and that kind of stuff, where it's like they're all connected, asterisk, but not really though. Like, it's very easy to say it's all connected, but they're not really connected. It was a kind of a one-way canon where it's like they referenced the movies, and like there was only ever one example of the movies referencing these shows, and that was, Age of Ultron kind of passively mentioning that, Coulson got the helicarrier at the end, but it's like it never really felt truly connected, and for good reason. At the time, they realized that they don't want people to not watch the movies because they feel that they have to watch this network TV, superhero police procedural to understand, because they felt it would harm sales. Cut to 10 years later, and they're like, hey, you know what? We could try again, but this time actually do it. That exact thing. And I think what ended up happening was we ended up a little bit worse for wear on this. I think that had they just built this as these are side stories in the universe and some of these characters may show up in a movie in cameos, it may have worked a little bit better. But the idea that, no, this is going to lead directly into this 6-hour miniseries, or this 9-hour miniseries is going to lead directly into the next movie, they should have known, based on the thought process during the Loeb era of running Marvel Television, this is probably not the best idea. And granted, I think what it was is they were kind of riding high off the successes of the MCU in the late 2010s, and they were like, hey, look, people love this shit. If we give them more on streaming and tell them they have to watch it, they'll do it, and that'll drive subscribers to Disney Plus. And that, I think, was kind of the entire thought process. And all of that said, I think this is the shows have ranged from very good to very bad. I think that Secret Wars was not great. I think that Agatha All Along was really good. I really liked Agatha All Along. Ironheart is kind of in the middle. It's kind of in the same space as Miss Marvel or Moon Knight or anything like that, where it's it's fine. I tuned in and watched it, and I'm like, oh, this is fine. This show, this show is fine, but I don't think I'm going to be thinking about this after in any real way. And I think part of that comes from the fact that they released this in such a weird way. Like, they went to the same way that Andor was released. 3 episodes this week, 3 episodes next week, and then we're done. And it's like, but why? Like, Andor I get, because Andor is a 12-episode series. Like, I don't agree with that. It's a 12-episode series, and each 3 episodes is an arc as part of this larger arc. So it's like you're getting a mini movie that's telling this story of this year in Andor's life, and then it's the next year, the next year. Like, I can buy that logic, where it's like, okay, well, at least it's kind of written in a way to do that. This series doesn't feel like that was the case, and that's why we end episode 3 in this place where I'm like, is this a good cliffhanger? Because I don't think so, because we don't really know what's going on. And I do have some, like, basic issues with the show. Like, I don't think it was well articulated that Natalie was dead before she ends up the AI. Like, I think it was kind of just, like, implied that she's not there. I don't recall any dialogue that she was dead. So you get to that point where it's like, oh, and now she's here, and now here's Riri freaking out because she's seeing her friend, and it's like, I guess she had to have died, but, like, they don't really touch enough on Natalie in that first episode to be like, okay, well, you know, this is why Riri can't talk to her any time. It's like, did they have a falling out? Did Natalie move? And I feel like that's kind of a big issue for a show that's going to have this be this big, you know, dynamic. I think just having her get kicked out of having her kicked out of MIT and having her sent back to having her get sent back to Chicago is an interesting dynamic out of the gate. And I think that really the big issue is a superhero show, we've learned over the last 10 years, is only as good as its supporting cast. Really, a superhero, anything, is only as good as its supporting cast. Because it's like, look, I get it. We're here to watch Riri as Ironheart. That's what we're here for in this show on a weekly basis. But she's not going to be in the Ironheart suit for all 40 to 50 minutes of an episode every single week, because that would be ridiculously expensive, and also it wouldn't be that engaging, in the same way that, like, when we watched Iron Man or Iron Man 2, he wasn't in the suit the entire time, and he wasn't fighting as Iron Man the entire time. You need to have grounded character moments, and that's kind of my issue with this show, is that I don't know any of her supporting cast, because we get back to Chicago, and she, like, her goal is to get enough money to build her own suit and not, you know, and have the suit work again. So she starts working with, you know, this group. But it seems like the suit's working pretty well. So I'm not entirely sure where we're at with this. I think she just wants to develop the suit and make it better. But either way, like you know, like she said several times, it's going to cost millions and billions of dollars, and I'm just like, is this, you know, is this something that Anthony Ramos and his crew can really get for you? Especially when she meets Joe McGillicuddy, who we eventually find out is actually Ezekiel Stane, Obadiah Stane's son. Like, we eventually learn that, and it's like, okay, so why not just, like, you know, work with him, I guess? Like, he's not really doing anything, but he has a ton of black market shit that you can, like, you know, like, I just feel like that's the path of least resistance, and they're not going for it. It's like, okay, so she's working with the Hood. And then the other thing is, like, if this show is meant to be magic versus technology, and that's what this is going to end up being, I don't think we're well situated after 3 episodes to really have that be this focal point, because, like, a good amount of the plot is, like, we gotta figure out what's going on with the Hood, the Hood's hood, the cloak hood thing, and that. And it's like, we finally get to see him do stuff with it, like, cool things with it, in episode, at the end of episode 3, we see him fight with it, but, like, we don't really get, like, I don't think that's enough to really, like, oh, okay, so that's something. And it's like, but how is she gonna fight that? And it's like we see that after, like he uses the magic to curve a bullet, like in that movie Wanted. Like we see that, and she's like, okay, so we gotta figure out how that thing works, and it's like it's magic, and she's dismissive. It's like magic is something you don't understand, and it's like, well, you said earlier in the show, like, there are wizards in this world. Like, that's the thing, is that it's like, it's not like this is like Iron Man time, where it's like we don't have this grand sorcery thing. We're 2 Doctor Strange movies in, and WandaVision and Agatha all along. Like, we are far enough into this that we the audience know magic exists. And Riri knows magic exists, and the public at large knows magic exists. So, like, why are we acting like it's completely outside the realm of possibility that this is magic? It's like, oh, well, he's got this magic cloak. Okay, cool, move on. Like, it's like, we gotta say, how does it work? Like, it's gonna end up being, he got the cloak for, like, the end of the episode leaves us in a place where it's like, it's definitely chaos magic. Like, I think that this is definitely chaos magic. I think definitely, Sacha Baron Cohen is in the show somewhere. And there's the rumor that he's playing, He's playing Mephisto. And the end of the episode is a very Faustian conversation that he has, where it's like, we had a deal, this was not part of the deal, and if it was, you didn't tell me this was part of the deal. And it's like, he's having a conversation with Mephisto. That's what it is. And it's like, I appreciate it. I appreciate the idea. I like what they're going for. But we're halfway through the show now, and there's a lot of things that are unclear. Like, including, like, I don't think that, like, Riri's just gonna want out now, and it's like, okay, great, but it's like, what has she gotten that keeps her bound to this crew in a way that, like, I don't think there's anything that she absolutely needs, like, from this crew, realistically, that, or that the crew gave her that's like, oh, okay, well, alright, well, pack your shit, leave. Like, that's the issue. It's like, unless it's gonna be like, Captain Cold in the Flash, like, well, if you're out, you're out, and he shoots him in the head. Like, unless that's where we are. Which is a possibility, I guess. I mean, but at the same time, like, I don't know. At the same time, and like I said, it's like, the supporting cast issue, it's like, I don't know who Riri was before going to MIT. I don't know, like, I know very little about her relationship with Natalie, because that isn't really given the time to develop. I don't think that we have enough information about her and her friends, because, like, that's the thing with a story like this, where it's like, this is someone who is, like, this is the story of someone who's a good person who falls in with bad people for what she perceives to be a good reason, and makes a bad decision, and we don't have enough people around her to be like, oh, so this is why she's doing it. Like, and like, people who are, like, worried about her, except for in, like, cartoonish ways. It's like, mother, worried. And then it's like, there's really no one else who's like, this is not good. She doesn't have any other friends. She doesn't have anything else. It's just, she is, she's kind of this island. And I don't think the isolation works for what the show is, because now it's just, we're dealing with relationship within the crew, and everyone on the crew is there for their own reasons, and everyone on the crew is there just to make money and leave. It's a very weird situation that I think they've wrote themselves into this corner. And look, we've seen the trailer. Eventually we get to the point where her suit is hybrid magic and technology, and okay, cool, but, like, where is this going? And I think that's profound. Excuse me. That is the profound issue I have with this, is where is this going? What is the final outcome of this show? And I don't think there's a good explanation as to where this ends up going. And that's possibly why when I watched last night, I was like, again, if this was not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I probably would drop this. I'm watching this show because of the Marvel Television logo that runs before it, which I've said a lot for a lot of things that have aired on Disney Plus. I'm watching this thing because of the franchise it's a part of, not because this thing is good. And that's a problem, and that is the issue. Like, we hear a lot like, like, we always hear people talk about, I saw an article the other day, actually, where it's like, the woke is the issue, because it's like, oh, they're putting identity politics over story, and it's like, well, not really. That's not how this works in a lot of times. It's like, usually the casting decisions are a quick decision that has little to do with the script, and it's just people who don't understand the process taking advantage, or people who do understand the process but know it's complex and give it to people who don't understand the process to make rage bait points on the internet and get that quick money. It's just, what it is like it's like that idea of like, oh, well, people are going to watch it because we have a black lead, or we have a not white lead, or we have a woman lead, or whatever. Like, that whole thing is not accurate. What is accurate is a lot of times they don't put as much effort into these shows, it feels like, because they have an idea for which character they're going to use. And it's like, okay, well, we want to do, we want to do another Iron Man show. Okay, but Tony Stark is dead, and we don't want to pay Robert Downey Jr. for an Elseworld, so we're just going to not do that. Okay, who do we have in the stable? Okay, we have Ironheart. Ironheart can come out, and she can do a show. Great, okay, so we're going to do an Ironheart show. Rather than being like, okay, so who has a take on an Ironheart show? Okay, well, you have a take, let's hear pictures on the takes and go on like that. It's kind of like, okay, so we're going to do an Ironheart show, and here's what we need it to do in terms of the wider universe. We needed to introduce X, Y, and Z. And that's how you end up with these shows and movies that feel kind of disjointed and kind of like, going through the motions. They are vehicles to explain this next thing that you need to know for the next part of the universe, but besides that, you don't really need to have watched it. And I think that is kind of the issue. If everything you need to know about the show is a Wikipedia entry or an article summarizing it on some website that's just like Ironheart, ending explained, like, if that's how the show could be summed up in terms of its impact going forward, you have a problem. The show should be resonant on its own merits. The show should have value on its own merits. If I'm watching a show, I should be tuning in because I care on a weekly basis about what happens to these characters. Not, I've seen the first, I saw her in Wakanda Forever, I enjoyed her in Wakanda Forever, the suit looked a little weird, and that's the thing too, is that CGI on the suit doesn't look great, and it's one of those things that's like, come on, really? Like, you couldn't, like, do this a little bit better? Like, come on now. And look, fundamentally, with 3 episodes left, she has a piece of the hood, and the way I feel about this is that it's pretty clear where the show's gonna go. She's gonna figure out what the hood is. It's got magical properties. She's gonna integrate it with the suit. Then she's gonna have an episode where she's in the suit with it, and then she's gonna, something bad's gonna happen. She's gonna throw away the suit, cast aside everything. Then something really bad's gonna happen. She's gonna have to put back on the suit, and it's gonna be the final suit. That's gonna be whatever, however she wants it to look, or however they want it to look going forward. That's gonna be the suit from there, and that is, that's what this is gonna be. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like, what's the hook? What is, what's the thing that's going to get me, interested in this? And in that time, will they manage to make this character, like, not this character, I do like Riri. And I think that the girl who plays her, whose name I'm forgetting, is doing a good job. I like Anthony Ramos. I mean, I like, he's a shining spot in in whatever I see him in. Like, he's, you know, he had to start in, like, Hamilton, but he was great in The Heights. He was great in, what was the other one he did? You know, he was, you know, even like the Transformers movie, Rise of the Beasts. Like, movie's not great, he's still entertaining in it. And then there's another movie he was in recently. But he's, you know, he's good. He shows up and he does a good job. When you know, I think the issue is it's not really a huge hook to get me in here. And I think that, like, this is a show that's just, like, you know, it's just kind of meh. It's a show I'm never going to think about again after it's over. Which is, like, it's entertaining enough while I watch it, but after I'm not going to think about it. And I think that that's kind of the issue with a lot of the MCU now, just in general. This is kind of an endemic issue. It's like Agatha all along is something that stuck with me after I watched it, and in a positive way. I'm trying to think what else kind of stuck with me in a positive way. Like, Multiverse of Madness even had things that stuck with me in a positive way. The Marvels stuck with me in a positive way. Eternals stuck with me in a positive way. You know, Shang-Chi. Like, No Way Home. The issue with this is, I don't feel that this movie is going to stick with us in a major way. I don't think this movie is going to be one that people are talking about, or this show's something that people are going to be talking about, like, 2 years from now, like, oh my god, did you see Ironheart? Isn't Ironheart great? Like, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's fine. And in the age of the internet, and the age of the hot take machine, and like, you know, getting attention for your opinion, there is no meh anymore. Meh is the worst thing you can be. Arguably, it's better to be really bad than it is to be meh, because meh means no one talks about it. You know, meh just leaves you, you know, nowhere. You want to be either really good, aggressively really good, or, you know, aggressively really bad, that it's like, it's a topic of conversation. Because, like, that's the thing. Think about Moon Knight. You know, Moon Knight is meh. We don't talk about Moon Knight almost at all. Like, we talk about Secret Wars, because Secret Wars was terrible. But we do not talk about Moon Knight. Being meh is a death sentence. Because even being really bad, you can get, you know, you can maintain attention on bad. You cannot with meh. And that's where this show kind of is right now. Unless it really sticks to landing, at which point I'm like, why not just drop it and binge then? At which point it's like, then people who watched it will be like, let's get to the end. And I know they gave screeners, I don't get screeners for Disney Plus stuff usually. But I know that, like, Disney Plus screeners were sent out to critics, and they got all 6 episodes. And it doesn't sound like it gets much better. I heard, like, from what I read, it's like, yeah, it's fine. Which is not good. But we'll wrap up there for today. We'll be back next week with another episode about the finale of Ironheart, the next 3 episodes, and then we'll be back this Friday about F1, the new Brad Pitt racing movie. But until then, have a great rest of your week.